I'm chilling, working on a bigger project right now. But I was on Threads earlier today, which I need to get off of. I told y'all I left social media for a long time and just recently got back on. Mistake. But anyway, I saw a conversation around this topic and I wanted to address it since it connects to a video I made before this about my thoughts on interracial dating, specifically with people who have one white parent, right? So I made a whole video about that. Go check that out. But the headline here, can you be pro-black and date white people specifically? Outside your race is a whole separate discussion. And what I said in response to that conversation, at least on Threads, was that like, look, I actually don't know where I stand with regard to this question. It should be an easy yes. Logically, I want to say yes, but my personal philosophy kind of runs counter to that, and I'm going to explain why. In my prior video that I just talked about, what I said was that I have a bias against dating people with a white parent because I don't want to bring Grandpa Chad, who is secretly racist or not so secretly racist, into my family. I don't want to go down my wedding list and be like, oh, I got to invite how many white people? Like, no, I don't ever want to even have that conversation. So my anaconda don't. But as for the rest of y'all, do what you want. My main point there was just kind of having an open conversation about how I choose to date and then trying to reflect on what does that say about me, about my notion of blackness. And it kind of brings me back to the premise we're talking about here. How do you define pro-black? Friends of mine, people I've met along the way, people I've dated who were half white. And so that what that means is that even I've progressed on this topic. I have tried to date people who had one white parent in my younger years. And I'm not saying something was wrong with them. I'm actually saying the opposite, right? I've met people along the way who were so down for the cause. Like it made me look at myself like, what am I doing? Like I've met half white people who led initiatives to put money in black people's hands throughout Atlanta, and it worked. Like the initiatives they put in place put more money into black people's hands, specifically single mothers and women specifically across Atlanta. If that's not pro-black, I don't know what is. There's a lot of freedom fighters in our past from the 60s, as I mentioned before, that are so down for the cause and so pro-black that I don't think there's any way you can formulate an argument to claim that they aren't. So if we define pro-black as your actions, as a set of actions you perform on a consistent basis that indicate you're advocating for our people and putting on for us and walking and talking in your blackness on a regular basis and being proud of being part of this ethnic group, if that's how you define it, then who you love shouldn't matter. But I think for people who claim it does, it comes down to this kind of counter statement, what they push back with, right? How are you pro-black if your house isn't pro-black? And that's something we can dive into as well. Like say you did choose to date a white person and you have half white kids with them, or quarter white if you're mixed yourself. Say that's the case. Is your house not pro-black because it has non-black people in it? So yeah, what we keep coming back to is, what the hell does pro-black mean? There is a argument that pro-black is an enhanced title. It's not something you give somebody just because they're white and they're super down for the cause. That isn't pro-black. Pro-black is leaning hard in one direction, not just having a friendly bias towards this group of people. So they say. So if that's how we define pro-blackness, as this enhanced title, then there are restrictions on it. Put it this way. If there's boundaries on being black as a person, which there naturally are, we have to gatekeep blackness to some degree, right? Then naturally there's going to be boundaries on being pro-black. I started this video saying I'm not sure, and even the confusion that I've put out here so far leans into that. I'm confused. Like I genuinely don't know where I land on this because I don't know the definition of pro-black that everybody else is using. So all I can do is go off of my own discernment. And for me, pro-black isn't an enhanced title that means you have to be black to do it. Because let's use another example. Let's use an analogy. I'm pro-queer, if that's a thing, if that's a term people use. I actively advocate for queer people. I go out of my way to mention it in a lot of my videos. I've been called out about that from a lot of heterosexual men specifically, cis heterosexual men. And so if me being pro-queer is an acceptable terminology within the queer community, y'all tell me if that's something I'm allowed to call myself as opposed to just being an ally, then no, blackness isn't a requirement to be labeled pro-black. But I am curious as to how y'all would define it. And if it is the case that blackness is not a prerequisite for being pro-black, then white people can be pro-black. And if white people can be pro-black, then dating them doesn't disqualify you from being pro-black. But again, I have my preferences when it comes to dating, and it is all encompassing. There is no world where I'm going to be dating a person who has a white parent at this point. Like I don't think that's something that I would ever entertain. People who are listening who have white parents might see that as something offensive to say. I don't know how y'all perceive it. I know last time I talked about this, I got a lot of eye rolls from half white people, mixed people. Hey man, I'm sure y'all are dope. I'm sure y'all are pro-black. I'm sure y'all are very down for the cause in many cases, and y'all love my work and y'all watch the things I make and you support me, and I appreciate it. And I don't think you're less than in any way. I just don't want to date you. And I don't think that should be an offensive thing. It's not due to anything you did either. It is your white relative's fault, for lack of a better word. I'm highly aware, obviously, that not all white people are reflective of the legacy of their ancestors, but most of them are. And I'm not saying most of them are racist. I'm saying most of them have inherited the byproducts of all that racism, all that privilege, and it manifests itself in small ways within relationships. I've dated people with a white parent, specifically a white mom, and it shows in a lot of ways that we tend to not acknowledge when we're talking about somebody in an interracial relationship. Dealing with those microaggressions, dealing with having to teach your partner things about blackness at this big age, these are things we overlook often and things that I'm not willing to deal with, but some of my fellow black people are. Some people love the process of teaching and improving their partner and educating them on the black experience, but I don't want to do that. Take my youngest brother, for example, who I love dearly and who watches my work a lot and supports me. We had a conversation one time, and because of his age, like it's not his fault, but because of his age, he didn't really grasp the significance of Outkast, just as an example. And I probably have the patience to educate my youngest brother, but I don't have the patience to educate someone who I'm meeting for the first time and deciding whether I'm going to spend the rest of my life with them. I need some things to already be there, just like women need some things to already be in a man that they're planning on dating. Hopefully y'all are following my trajectory. I can't be starting from scratch on microaggressions, on our relationship with the police, on why I don't like police, on why I don't automatically support the Democratic Party, why religion rubs me the wrong way. Like there's certain things that you already have to have these days for me to entertain dating you in the first place. These are first, second date conversations. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I stand. I don't even know if this is controversial or if this is a hot take, but I don't date white people. I don't date the byproducts, the direct byproducts of white people. Humans who are the direct byproducts of white people. That made it sound like they're not people. I'm sorry. I don't do that, but to each their own. And Having white blood or white ancestry does not mean you can't be pro-black. I think that's a ridiculous argument on its face, because coalitions are not built in walled gardens. That's not what coalitions are. And you need more than just the people immediately around you to affect significant change. And that's ultimately my goal with everything I make on the political channel here, main channel. The goal is to push either the conversation forward, push the culture forward, highlight things in the culture that are problematic. And I don't see a way we do that in this closed off atmosphere. So y'all let me know what you think. These are rants. There's a reason this video probably didn't all the way make a lot of sense all the way through. This is a stream of consciousness. I didn't write a script for this. Just trying to bring the conversation to the people, and y'all help me decide how to feel about it. Not that I'm gonna listen to all of y'all, but I do listen to my audience. I gotta get back to work. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.